if we were to just Google Halloween, you see what comes up, right? Friday, 31st of October, 2025, Halloween will be celebrated. And if you look at the imagery around Halloween, you're going to see, as you can see here, this pumpkin referred to as Jack-O-Lanturn. We're going to go into that, but if you look at the images, you see children wearing costumes, going out and begging for candy, trick-or-treating. You see people wearing all kinds of, hideous masks. Look at this. You see witches and so forth. You see like skeletons, and you see, House of Horror. You see bats. So many things that are designed to be scary. And Halloween is the night of nights. What we know, we refer to night as shadow hour because we know the sun never stops shining and there is no such thing as night. But it's the night where it's actually the devil's, what we call New Year, so to speak. It's the evil one's Sabbath. Most of the information that I'm going to relay to you is coming from the Master Teacher's scroll called Halloween, the Evil One's Sabbath, which is scroll number 22, which was put out many years ago. And as usual, Pana Babyanun is always first in terms of giving us the actual facts when it comes to these things. So yeah, the imagery around this night is about people doing the devil's work. And it's about you getting frightened. It's about fright. It's about gruesome. It's about Dungeons and Dragons and ghosts and goblins. And when we say, like in the UK, we have, let me see if I can show you. We have something called the London Dungeon. There you go. The London Dungeon. It's really a place where you can go. It shows you, look, it's somewhere where you can be immersed in an experience of like the history and darkest history of London. And it's about you being frightened and thrilled, and they show you how people used to be tortured, the way ancient London used to live and what they used to do. Let's look at some of the imagery. They show you how people used to be drawn and quartered, tortured. This is an example. When we talk about Halloween and we're looking at the night, it's about people wearing masks, hoods. You see images of bats, the Grim Reaper. Again, the Grim Reaper is an important part because look, if we just Google the Grim Reaper, what we get is a classic and terrifying Halloween figure rooted in 14th century folklore that emerged during the Black Death plague. Okay, and it's really a long history of, when you look at that Grim Reaper, it's a personification of death. And so it's actually ironic because if you remember when, again, how it all ties into Europe and London, we'll see how Halloween has its roots in Wicca, the Wicca religion with the Druids and so forth. And if we were to type, remember when the King's Coronation, so if you type Grim Reaper and then put King's Coronation, there you go, King Charles III Coronation. If you just go to the images, let's have a look. See, there you go. A lot of people saw this image and it was something that went kind of viral on social media where people were saying, why did the Grim Reaper walk past in the background when this coronation was taking place? Why that symbology in terms of death? Because as we just said, it represents death. I mean, it's important for us to research and check these things out because there's always symbology or symbols and things going on that are in front of your face. You may not notice it or it's subliminal. So it says here, personification of death and found in many religions and mythologies. So in more modern stories, a character known as the Grim Reaper causes the victim's death by coming to collect the person's soul. So when we're looking at Halloween and what it's all about, it's about, as I said, ghost. When you look at the word ghost, it's very important again, because ghosts are what? Dead people. And you start to see how when we tie this to the word gospel, yeah, we know that it's really the ghost spell. That's really what you're saying. And when I say subliminal, it's in terms of the language, it's in terms of the tones, it's in terms of the vibration, it's in terms of the visuals, because you're still recording things subliminally. And the letter G is important because the J and the G phonetically actually sound the same. Why is that important? Because when we start to look at words like ghost, even let's start with the big capital God, right? Got the G, ghosts, goblins, ghouls. You know, we can keep going, but the point is this G is important, right? And let's look at ghost. We've already established ghost spell because it's the spell of death. Because religion, in terms of the gospel, or they say gospel, is really the worship of a dead person who should really be a ghost now because he's no longer here. But if we look at, there was a movie by the James Bond movie, there you go, called Spectre. And Spectre, you see the imagery, like Daniel Craig, who played the James Bond in this movie, was wearing that white suit, symbolic of a ghost. Again, because when you're saying ghost, you're really talking about a being without color or transparent, which is really the word. But people will use white for that word, but it's really transparent, or a ghost, because the whole thing about Jesus dying and resurrecting and becoming a ghost, or they say the Holy Ghost, which is a pure, holy means pure ghost. Found another word. Yeah. Again, all of these words are related to Halloween, which we're going to go into in more detail. We look at, it relates to blood, vampires. Another interesting word, the word vampire, which if you look closely, it's actually V, the V empire. Okay. And the V empire relates to the word Vulcan, because even there was a movie called V, right? Which they said meant victory, but it's really related to the Vulcan Empire, because when you look at this word, because again, Halloween, you see Dracula, but Dracula really ties into Draco, which actually is also Draco or dragon, yeah? Because it ties into the dragon, dealing with these reptilian vampires or reptilian beings from the constellation known as Draco. And Dracula is the son of Drac. That's what Dracula really means, the son of Drac, or the son of the being from these reptilians. Again, I mentioned you've got blood, because these vampires feed off of blood. Yeah, so when we're looking at this Halloween celebration, we start to look at, you know, vampires, blood, werewolves. This is all happening on this night where people do the devil's work. They do his bidding. And so it's one of the nights, the night where a lot of crime, a lot of what they call fun and follies taking place. And so, you know, things happen where blood sacrifices, I'll talk about that, sacrifices, all kinds of things are done to appease the devil. This is his night. It's like you have one day where he's like, you can do what you like, dress as hideous and as scary and as frightful as you can. And when you're dealing with these werewolves, it goes into so much. When you look at even the werewolves things, yeah, this ties into how the Roman Empire came about, because you know, when you're dealing with werewolves or even like children, because there's actually a condition that is called homophilus, right? Let me just write homophilus. You can do your research on all this, yeah? Which is a condition that deals with, another word is lycanthropy, right? So that's like lichens, yeah, but it's also a condition, like lycanthropy, okay? Now this is to do with a disease that people who they believe or think that they are able to transform or change themselves into wolves. There were a couple of movies called, one of them was called American Werewolf in London, okay, and another one was called A Werewolf or something like that. There are movies which go into showing you how these people, sometimes it's just in their mind, but they actually behave and growl and crawl on all fours and eat, flesh, and they basically behave like a real werewolf, okay? But I was trying to say, yeah, that homophilia deals with children. Like if a child is born and abandoned, say, I don't know, in the wild, and then they're raised and brought up by werewolves, they kind of, because they don't have no knowledge of, being a human child, they will just basically follow what the werewolves teach them, and they kind of become like that. Yeah, I keep going. I was going to say that the Roman Empire, yeah, because this ties into this empire. The Roman Empire was based on Romulus and Remus, okay? They tell you really like their beginnings, or the Roman Empire, the beginning of the Roman Empire started off with these two children who were basically left, and they were like she-wolves, and basically or raised by a she-wolf, and Romulus killed Remus because he was going to be the next ruler of the Roman Empire. So that's how that ties into this, what I was saying about the vampires. Okay, so year after year, whenever we come to this celebration, or what they call holiday, okay, because Hallow, or they say the holiday, they're celebrating this holiday called Halloween, but holy is really tying into the wood, or the holy wood. Remember, Hollywood as well is the wood that Merlin the magician uses to cast spells. Yeah, to cast spells on people. So this is all part of this Halloween that people are celebrating. And if you think about it, what's fun about children being frightened, or people in general being frightened, what's so positive about putting trauma in people, playing games? This is the day where a lot of crime is committed, because people in this fun and folly, they drink a lot of alcohol, which ties into, when I mentioned the J and the G, ties into the word jinn. A jinn is a demonic spirit in Arabic, and when I say they drink a lot, this ties into like the jinn in terms of gin and tonic. But when you say gin and gin, you see, you can't really see or hear the difference, because phonetically the J and the G are the same. And you see how this G is played out throughout those words that relate to, all this type of demonic activities. All right, so let's keep going. And on this night, it's literally like you can do anything for the devil, and the devil actually has a companion, and his companion is referred to as Samantha. Okay, don't take too much offense if your name is Samantha, because you may not know this, because as I said, words and phonetics matter, and this word Sam is important because Sam is a word that ties into like Samuel, yeah, or Samuel. People say Samuel, but Samuel, or spelled again like Samael, is really a poisonous gas, which means poison dose of L. And you look at the words like Uncle Sam, yeah, America is referred to as Uncle Sam. And when you look at Samuel, you start to see a lot of words that relate to, like this summer is tied into the word Samun, which is poisonous wind or fire, yeah? So when you're saying poison dose of L with this wind, this is what we're saying, that your spirit is or when you're dealing with things you can't see, it ties into wind, it ties into energy, and Leviathan, which is also a spirit force. But that word Samuel is actually really good, because when you look at, when I say really good, because you look at people that have words like Samuel, like Samuel Jackson, okay? Now, and that Jackson also ties into the word Jack's son. And why Jack? Because when I mentioned about the other images you see in Halloween is Jack-O-Lantern, yeah? Jack-O-Lantern, which is pumpkin heads that have fire. I think, did we have, yeah, we saw that earlier on. Yeah, there you go. These pumpkin heads that have the fire in it, they relate to Jack-O-Lantern. And Jack, it's another name, right? Remember, like Jack the Ripper, kind of sounds like the Grim Reaper, right? Jack the Ripper. Now look at the people that have names that have like the Jackson, like MJ. So you got the Michael. I know people love Michael Jackson, but this is just to show you how you get played. So that's Jackson, yeah? MJ, Michael Jackson, or Michael Jordan. And look at words of people that have those names. Michael, the L, Michael, ties into the Samuel. And what did they used to call Michael as a nickname? Jacko. And why does it tie into Halloween? Because what made Michael Jackson really famous was what? When he put out the song Thriller. Yeah? Thriller. What was Thriller about? Yeah, Thriller was about, it's close to midnight, and you saw him, people coming out of, in fact, let's have a look. I'll just type, not that we're going to play the song, we don't have the time, but look at Michael Jackson Thriller. And see what happens after Michael released Thriller. Okay, that's the song right there. The images, look at the images. And what happened? He was transforming from a person into what? A werewolf. And then you saw how, can you see these images? This is me just typing it in Google. You can see right here. And you started to see, I want to show you, say for example, that image there. Look at that image. Look at the people around him. And this is where Michael, look at that. Look at his eyes turning into a werewolf, right? What's that werewolf? What's those eyes relating to? Vampire, Dracula, dealing with the Reptilians. Okay, you may not have ever seen this, right? And coincidentally, now you might say, oh, you know, but you see how it's tying in. Coincidentally, Michael Jackson, after Thriller, was when he what? He started transforming himself to becoming, he turned from black to white, literally. And just seeing if I can find any more images, but it's all about how he got possessed, how he changed, and how, trying to find the one where the people were coming out of the graves. You can't really see that, but I'm sure if you just Google, yeah, see all these dead people that literally, oh yeah, there you go, that's him transforming into the vampire, the werewolf. And okay, I don't want to spend too much time trying to find that one, but you go and watch the video and you see people coming out of the grave. And this is dealing with that whole transformation of the ghost spell and you becoming a ghost. And Michael Jackson transformed from that moment with the Thriller, and he started bleaching his skin, you know, his nose, everything just went completely from being a black man with soul to someone who was basically a ghost. All right, let's keep going. Yeah, so Samantha, the devil's companion, the word Sam, she's also known as Anak. Yeah, her other name is Anak. And when you look at this Anak, that's where you get the word Anakites. Yeah, the Anakites, who are what we know today as the Anunnaki, the Anakites. That's just another tone, another name for them. There's just so much information. I hope I can get through all of this, but you know, if not, we may have to do a part 2. Yeah, so when I say Anak and Anakites, we're dealing with, like, Samantha, her job is to find new ways, creative ways of really pleasing the devil in the most unholiest, or, you know what I mean, the most unholiest of pleasures. So when I said Uncle Sam here, right, America, one of the names America is known by is Uncle Sam. Now that Sam, or when I said Samun, is dealing with the word Sam. I'm trying to make sure I have enough space so you guys can see this clearly. The word Sam is Samhain. Yeah, this is all tying into Halloween. This is where Samhain, again, do your research. Samhain is the Lord of the Dead. And the Lord of the Dead, coincidentally, relates to the Grim Reaper, as I already mentioned and showed you, which relate, all of this is tying into death. Yeah? And death is represented by the devil, because when you look at this cross, the cross is a symbol of death, because they tell you in order for Jesus to die and go to heaven, he had to be what? Crucified on the cross. So the symbol of death is the cross, not the symbol of the living or life, like the Ankh that you find in ancient Egypt. So you see things like Samhain is the Lord of the Dead. You see skull and bones. Samuel is poison wind. Iblis, which is it's a name of, when we say Samuel, we're talking about the son, or Iblis, who is the son of Shakar. And these are, when I said tying into these reptilians, you're dealing with a species of reptilians that are known as the Maarid species. Yeah, the Maarid species. That's the type of vampires or greys that tie into Dracula, Draconian. Because what does Dracula do? Dracula can't come out at during the sun hours, or when the sun is supposed to be rising. He has to come out at night. Okay, and at night is where he preys on victims, bites their blood, right? Bites their neck, sorry, to suck their blood. And when we start to look at the imagery that surrounds Halloween, like bats are again associated with, well, there are different types of bats, but the particular bats that are associated with vampires, and you look, they live in caves and they slit the prey's skin and then they suck the blood. They do it to humans as well. That one, the parts they normally do it to is like the feet or even the nose, wherever there's soft tissue where they can get the blood from quickly. So it's all about death, or transforming into a vampire, or transforming into a ghost, which is the absence of soul, or a being that is able to go to heaven or to the higher realms, right? So they even have they did a cartoon, I think a movie called Casper. So they always make it palatable for even, there you go, they even make it palatable for young people or children. This is how the indoctrination starts where they will give you a ghost, but try to make him friendly. There you go, Casper the friendly ghost. So they can still put the programming into young people as well. Okay. All right, let's keep going. We've got so much to get through. So these disagreeable species of reptilians, known as the Maarid species, are really the ones that possess. When I said Jack the Ripper, you see how the names all tie in. Samuel or Samuel. Look at even down to the brother Samuel Jackson, who played. What does he play? He played. Look at the characters he played in, like Jungle and what's the other movie? But even in Jungle, he's like, because you had the field slaves. I don't want to use the N word, and you also had the house slaves, and the ones who sold out or sell out. You know, they treated differently because they do the bidding of the slave master, and likewise, Halloween that's been celebrated is people who either through ignorance or they don't know, they're actually being influenced by Leviathan, right? Leviathan is, let me write, Leviathan. When you look at the word Leviathan, you see Levi or Levi, yeah? Leviathan. Levi, look at the books of Leviticus, right? Go and read the book of Leviticus in the Bible. Read the whole chapter. You see that Leviticus is all about, let me put it down, Leviticus. I might not spell it correctly, but I think that's right. Leviticus is the chapter deals with blood sacrifices. And this, I put it in brackets because you think it's God, but God does not require you to sacrifice blood, animals, and so on. So the book of Leviticus is a cookbook that is dealing with how you sacrifice and prepare food for these reptilians who are flesh eaters. And it's all about, if you look at this whole story to deal with this so-called holiday, when you say holy, you're saying really you're being tricked, as in you're being scammed. Okay, so let's keep going. Yeah, I gave you the tie. Search out words with MJ. There's a movie, actually, a recent movie called Him, with one of the Wayne brothers that reveals a lot. I'm not going to say and go into it, but you have to have the mind to watch a movie like that. But these reptilians, these draconians, tie into Anak, tie into the Anunnaki, tie into the two sons Enlil and Enki. Yeah, and Enlil, because when we say the devil's son and we give you all these names like Tarnush, Iblis, etc. Right? These sons is what you're talking about when you're dealing with this God that wants all these sacrifices in the Bible. And then you're thinking you're feeding a God, but you're really feeding the devil. And the devil's day is Halloween, which is an evil day, because you look at everything people do, it's actually very unholy. And yeah, so we got to look at, why do you celebrate this day and why do you think it's a good thing? It's not. It's one of those pagan days that originated from the celebration of Samhain. And I told you already that Sam relates to Samantha, who is the devil's other half, and Samuel is the name of, the devil, and it means poison dose of hell, because you're starting to deal with these beings in the Bible, which are really Enlil, who is one of these Anunnakis, and obviously ties into today, Nannar, Nannar, right? Who's the one that requests. So when you said Nannar, you hear his real name is Nannar Sin. Nannar Sin. So where you hear in the Bible where it says sin lies at the door, when, for example, these two brothers, it ties into the Cain and Abel story, as it does with the Romulus and Remus story, where you have two brothers, and the Cain and Abel stories, because obviously Cain and they were made to make an offering, right? And Cain killed Abel because, you know, his offering was rejected. And you look at why, it ties into the fact of, you know, again, these gods, they wanted an offering that was to do with blood sacrificing and meat, and they didn't get that. So yeah, that's where he obviously ended up shedding blood. It's because it's all about blood, shedding blood. The people that make the most out of this day is the businesses, because it's also about using these pagan holidays, yeah, so-called holidays, for money, because people buy all the stuff like the costumes, the lights. They basically exploit you through money, and money, what does money tie to? So pagan celebrations tie into business and money, like the other one that you celebrate called what? Remember I said the cross? X is just a cross. Xmas, it's another one, right? And these businesses are the ones that make the money, and the word money, okay, ties into money. Money is kind of Monet. You can always hear the word phonetically, and that is the Greek god of pain, right? The Greek god of pain and sarcasm, because you are basically being tricked into these pagan holidays, celebrating things that go back thousands of years, that relate to things that you have no clue about or knowledge about, and you think is just a celebration. Everything to do with Halloween is not really positive. Children going out to get candy and get sweets, which we know messes up their cavities, the teeth. The mouth is one of the most, what's the word I can use? The mouth has more access to viruses, and you can literally pass things on because of the way it is, right? And not only that, it connects you to your pineal gland and to the pituitary gland, and this is why you get blocked in terms of turning on your third eye, activating your higher senses, so that you can actually see through all of this subliminal messages and indoctrination that you're being subjected to, but you may not be aware. So what we do here is to basically debunk everything and give you the information so you can go and look it up, because like I said, it goes cavities and the sweets rot in your teeth, which means that access to your bloodstream is actually much easier, and it calcifies your pineal gland and stops you from really waking up to the higher consciousness. Trick or treat with the children is really just, you know, innocent children getting like victimized, and a lot of accidents and things take place on this day because people are, you know, maybe drunk, drinking and driving. Yeah, and the pagan holidays, in terms of the celebrations, they go back to the Celts. Yeah, or you can say Celtics. We actually have an we have. Let me see if I can find it. We have an actual fact called Celtics, because it's spelt in different ways. Yeah, in this actual fact, it goes in detail explaining what I'm talking about in terms of where these pagan celebrations or holidays like Samhain come from. Like I said, you can spell it like like this, Celtics. You can spell it with a C, you can spell it with a K, as in Celtics. And you can also spell it with an S. But phonetically, they actually still sound the same. Yeah, but this is the one with the C is the one that most people are familiar with. All right, so Halloween. Get the scroll called Halloween, the Evil One Sabbath, and it will give you a lot more information. So really, these pagan holidays, they actually originated from the Druids. The Druids were like the high priest of the Wicca religion, okay? Wicca. Go back and do some research. And so the Druids, actually they were known as the word means knowing the oak tree, because where they used to go and perform a lot of these rituals was in the sacred oak grove. Okay, so you have to do some research and read about, let me just read an excerpt from this, the Evil One's Sabbath. I'll read from page 19. So let's go. Okay, here we go. Page 19. So it says, how did the Feast of Samhain become Halloween? Because this Feast of Samhain is what became Halloween. Yeah. During the 4th century AD, Roman Emperor Constantine, yeah, the Great, that's what they call him, the Great, even though just like they use that word great a lot, like Alexander the Great, but you have to add, what did he do? What was he great at? Yeah, he was great at stealing, you know. Anyway, let me keep reading. The Great Britain, Alexander the Great. Okay, so Constantine the Great, he reigned from 324 to 327 AD. He declared Christianity as lawful. Okay, remember I already started to tie in the cross, the what they call gospel, the ghost, in terms of worshipping dead people, which is necromancy really, yeah, but I don't want to digress. Let's keep going. So he made the spread of Christianity, he declared Christianity as lawful because the spread of Christianity was slow due to pagan beliefs, rituals and practices of the masses. Yeah, remember I said here, masses. Xmas. As you think you're celebrating, but really it's all technology, because the cross is the X. X marks what? Cancelled. Okay, let's keep going. Anyway, the spread of Christianity was slow due to the pagan beliefs, rituals, and the practices of the masses. The heads of the church embarked on a mission to stamp out other pagan religions. The Celts' religious beliefs were too much for the Christians, so they compromised by giving the Celts rituals and holidays new meanings and names. The Christians' All Saints' Day was originally celebrated on May the 1st. This day honored early Christian martyrs. Another name for All Saints' Day allowed for the idolatrous Celtics, now Christians, to still celebrate on the Feast of Samhain, now on October the 1st. Then it became All Hallows Eve, which was later shortened to Halloween. Now, for all you so-called Christians who claim to follow Christ, but you know you don't. The Messiah didn't eat pork, get drunk, take intoxicants, smoke, etc. which are all your daily habits. All Saints' Day is merely a replacement of the festival of Samhain. Even with the new meaning given to these pagan rituals, the ghosts, goblins, witches, and various creatures of the darkness in reality remain the same. The actual celebration of Halloween is a European custom which was brought to America in the 19th century, right, by the Irish and the Scottish. This is why I keep saying that if you look at the roots, it ties back to Europe in terms of the Druids, the Wiccan religion, and Halloween, and all these things like Jack the Ripper. All of this actually ties back. Okay, so it was brought to America in the 19th century by the Irish and the Scottish. Halloween is nothing more than a day of honor of the tribute to Satan, the malevolent one. The Romans celebrated a festival for the dead in late October called Feralia. In November, they honored Pomona, deity of orchards. These two festivals gradually blended with the Celtics Samhain festival. Okay. Roman emperors were alarmed at the intermingling that went on between its citizenry and the Celtic peoples. They set out on a massive ban on the ancient Druid religion. These high priests, Druids, were hunted and killed, but the Celts held firm to their beliefs. Right, so you start to see all the symbols around Halloween. Objects of mystery and legend. Halloween symbols have their roots in the Samhain festival and in the dawn of Halloween rituals. The most popular are the cat. Okay, the cat. So these are now, when we're looking at these symbols, like we're going to look at, the cats, look at bats, look at the owls. These are all symbols. Okay. So the cat, from the Felidae order feline order, is an outstanding carnivore meat eater. They are excellently designed for capturing and killing live prey. Cats are intelligent, alert, and powerfully muscled. They are known to be quite finicky, having an air of sophistication about them, and are independent. The domesticated cat, Felis domesticus, was first domesticated in ancient Kemet, Egypt. Yeah, they were essential in keeping the Egyptian storehouses free of pesky rodents. The Egyptians also worshipped a cat-headed deity called Sekhmet, also worshipped by the ancient Greeks and Romans, who ruled over witches, wizards, and ghosts. So yeah, you can see the deity bashed, but it wasn't so much about, worshipping her. There's more reverence and respect. This is where the feline order comes from, but a lot of it was misinterpreted as it got ported into Christianity and religion. Okay, so the Norse female deity Freya was a deity of beauty, love, marriage, and the dead, and held the cat as one of her sacred animals among the Celts. Cats were dreaded as supernatural beings. They believed that cats and humans transformed into animals by evil powers. Cats were victims of Samhain fires because of this belief. The superstitions about black cats continued into their association with witchcraft. It is believed that witches and warlocks have the power to transform themselves into animal shapes. Remember, again, in the Bible, a lot of people are not aware, but there were many times where people saw so-called Jesus, and they were looking at him, but they didn't know it was him, because he had the ability to transfigure and transform himself, to look other than who they knew him as. Go back and do your research in the Bible. So this again, as I said, all of these things are stemming from ancient Egypt, because alchemy and the sciences that were taught to people that were initiated in Egypt, you know, they were able to do miracles, or, you know, use alchemy in many situations. You know, like he got the fishes to commit suicide, and I know people say, oh, he helped the disciples catch the fish, and he fed the multitude. But think about it, someone is actually commanding fish to basically commit suicide or die, right, or kill themselves. But anyway, this is just how we with an open mind, you look at things kind of differently. But yeah, this shape-shifting association was something that they actually looked at it as witchcraft. Until this day, when you look at the word magic, that comes from the word magi, yeah, which ties into these beings that were able to, they studied and they knew how to transform things. Yeah, so going back to that, I'll read that line again. It is believed that witches and warlocks have the power to transform themselves into animal shapes. The evil one, and even that, what I mentioned with that, lycanthropy and this homotheosis is really someone that has, some people just have, it's a mental disease where they think that they are an animal or can transform. And even recently, now people are going back to walking on all fours, and you can just Google that. Let me see if I can find that quickly, because sometimes we say these things and you know, people think we're making it up, but when you do your research, you just type people walking on all fours. Yeah, here you go. Even these, there's a whole family, because yeah, there you go. See, there's a whole family of people that are walking on all fours, or they're regressing. And Turkey is quite significant, because it is actually its roots go back to even the word. For example, people, you know, you catch a Uber every day, yeah, but you know the word Uber. That word is actually from Turkish origins, and you wouldn't believe what it means. It actually means witch. That's what the word Uber means. And when when you start to look at who are the people who walk on all fours, and it tells you here, the Ulas family of 19 is from rural southern Turkey, right? 5 of the family members, except for another who has died, walk on all fours with their feet and palms of their hands in what is called a bear crawl. Yeah, and it says, what is the syndrome where people walk on all four? I'm trying to see if it'll give me the name. It's in one of our scrolls anyway, but results in loss of balance and the need to walk on all fours. When it was first discovered, the syndrome was characterized by evolutionary biologist Anakites as a sign of devolution. So when you say devolution, you're saying you're going backwards. Yeah. A hypothesis that humans can devolve to have earlier, more primitive traits. Yeah. We have an actual fact that actually goes into this, but let's keep going in terms of this reading of excerpt from Halloween, the Evil One Sabbath. The Evil One, or Malevolent One, is believed to have appeared at the witches' Sabbath in the shape of cats, bucks, oxen, dogs, and transformed into black or grey cats, traveling to the Sabbats and dancing about these rituals. Associated with the Druids, Samhain, and later on with witches, the cat was marked as a true symbol of Halloween. Its arched back with hair on end and yellow eyes glaring the cat stood as a true symbol of the spirit of evil. It actually, in actuality, it was the cat who vowed to protect man during the creation of the pig. Okay, because again, the pig, which was the pig was genetically grafted from the cat, the rat, and the dog. That's what people are eating. So when we were saying, you know, Jesus didn't eat pork, etc., like today, people are eating pork and they don't realize how filthy it was. Like an olden day vacuum cleaner for dirt, because I was mentioning about the Caucasus Mountains. When these beings were in those mountains, they were uncivilized, they were barbaric, they were walking on all fours, they were eating flesh, practicing bestiality, and it was so much filth that, you know, they basically urinated and there was feces everywhere, and they needed something to clean up this mess, right? So ancient Egyptian scientists, Imhotep and Zoser, they basically put this formula together to create the hog, which the pig is a descendant of, and that was used to go and clean the filth. So that's why when you eat pork, or when you look at pork, study it, you can leave a piece of pork flesh, put some lime on it and leave it, it will turn, you see maggots actually literally coming out of it. There's something in it called the Trochus worm that once it's in you, it's literally hard to get out of, because it can withstand high temperatures. Let me see if I can find it, because you guys have to do research. If I can even spell Trochus, I'm sure Google will help me. Okay, there you go. Okay. I don't know if that's the correct spelling for it, but how do you treat trichurus worms? I'm sure it was spelled slightly different, or maybe. Yeah, do some research on. Let me see if I can put in pig or something, in pigs. Okay, it says the Trichurus suis, or whipworm, is a parasite that infects pigs, primarily living in the large intestine. The infection can cause diarrhea. Anyway, do some research on this, because I don't want to spend too much time on this. But basically, that is a very hard worm. It can withstand really high temperatures, so you can't really kill it or burn it easily. But let's keep going. So once it's in you, you need a lot of cleansing, and you know, to get it out. In actuality, it was the cat who vowed to protect man during the creation of the pig, which involved the dog, cat, and rat. During Abraham's time in Kemet, Egypt, with Imhotep and Zoser, Zoser's graftation of the pig. Okay, that's what I was saying. Then the next animal that is associated with Halloween is the owl. And the owl belongs to the bird order. Okay. Remember, again, think about when they go to the Bohemian Grove, right? There's a massive owl statue that they when I say they, right, they go there to worship Nannar and to appease these gods, and carry out rituals that, you know, when you go back into the Bible and in the Leviticus and biblical times, this is where they make these sacrifices to these beings that people are passing off as God, not realizing you're dealing with these extraterrestrial beings that some of them are so hideous. That's why they tell you cannot see God's face and live, right? But then there are others that that they exchange during, as you're reading the verses, where you can see them. So there's parts where you do see God's face. You see every part of God's body. And we have a scroll by the master teacher called The Body Parts of God that I went back years ago also that deals with this. Okay, so the owl, why? Because the owl again represents a nocturnal being, a being that can see in the night and has eyes. It's one of the only birds, if not the only one from my memory, that has eyes like this and not on the sides, right? And it can twist its neck and able to see, literally, it can go so far back, like we stop here, but it can go further both directions. So it's almost able to do a 360 degree and can see. So they they use the owl in, you know, the orders. Okay, let's keep going. So the owl belongs to the bird order Strigophomus. They are found throughout the world except in cold climate of the Antarctic. Owls have eyes that face forward, giving them binocular vision. Their necks are very mobile, compensating for their restricted vision. Owls possess flexible feathers, allowing for silent flight. Most of the species of owls are nocturnal night creatures and have a highly developed sense of hearing. All owls are birds of prey, feeding on small mammals, birds, fish, and occasionally insects. There are two families of owls. The barn owl family, Titanoidae, some of these words are very Titanoidae, which have heart-shaped faces and hunt mainly by sound, and the typical owls are Strigidae, if I'm pronouncing that properly, which are round-faced and have huge eyes. Each owl eats up to 10 mice in 1 meal. Because their feathers tip down, they fly in complete silence, and they have night vision 100 times better than humans. The ancient Romans considered owls creatures of evil. It was believed that witches were able to transform themselves into owls, and owls' eerie shrieks on a lonely night will send any traveler swiftly on his journey. The Spanish word for owl is bruja, which also means witch. Like bats, owls are nocturnal and their eyes are objects of fear and mystery and legend. Then we come to this Jack-O-Lanturn that I mentioned before. As we saw when we, there you go, right? So these Jack-O-Lantern, the grinning Jack-O-Lantern carved from the face of a pumpkin, is a well-known Halloween symbol. Its legend finds its roots in marshes and bogs throughout Europe. Pale, eerie lights often appeared over the bogs and marshes, booming along like a lantern in someone's hand, ignifitus, meaning foolish fire, are what these strange flickering lights really were. It is similar to the phosphorescence caused by spontaneous combustion of methane, a marsh gas that burn readily and easily. This gas is formed by rotting plants and animal forms in places that have little oxygen. Centuries ago, these lights were attributed to lantern men, often called Hob-O-Lantern, Jack-O-Lantern, Will-O-Wisp, or Will. Many superstitions were made because of a lack of understanding of the causes of the light. It was believed to be souls of the sinner who were condemned to walk the earth until the end of time. One such legend came from an old Irish story about a man named Stringy Jack. His name Jack is very, very popular, right? Jackson, Jack-O, Jack-O. So this man named Stringy Jack, who liked to play tricks on the evil one. So when you're hearing that trick or treat, That's relating to these. Like to play tricks on the evil one. He tricked the evil one into promising not to claim his soul. When Jack appeared at the gates of hell, they turned him away. As the Scottish and Irish people migrated to America, they discovered the pumpkin, which they found to be an excellent substitute for their customary turnip. The pumpkins became the perfect Jack-O-Lantern and has been used ever since. Goblins, okay, this is another symbol that is associated with Halloween. Goblins, like their counterparts, banishes, leprechauns, fairies, brownies, and pixies were evil spirits which were once thought to emerge on the festival of Samhain and later at Halloween. The name Mormon means a spectre. See, again, that's why I mentioned, when I said Spectre and I mentioned that movie, this movie here, the James Bond movie called Spectre, you look at, just look at the imagery. Okay, let me actually click on this. So it's not very big, but you can see, look behind him. What do you see? You see a skull, right? You see a skeleton, skull and bones, and he's wearing a white suit. And the word spectre, as I said, is relating to ghost, right? To dead, to the dead. I'm saying you may have seen this because, you know, advertising is one of the biggest tools used to project images, but images are tones as well because they're vibrations and the frequency, because light also is literally photons or, you know, particles moving in a waveform that your eye, the retina, actually picks up, because your eyes are literally like solar panels. So don't think that an image, a word, a sound, because even when you're looking at words, words are composed of what? Singular images that are put together. You call them letters, but you know, well, there's a letter. And so the imagery affects your being. It's a vibration. You know, the colors affect your being, the sound, the tones, you know. So yeah, when you see things, don't just think, oh, it's advertising, it's marketing, but what is the message? Because there is a message that's being projected from that image. Like we said, watch the movie They Live, because again, running out of space, yeah, put it here. They Live. Yeah, that's the name of the movie. Great movie, because it's all about what I'm saying, that you have to, in fact, let me see if I can find it for you. It has to do with the fact that once your eyes are not open, you can't see what's going on around you. You can't, you know, you have subliminal messages, and they live. There you go. There you go. This movie here, They Live, right? Watch this movie. I think, yeah, it's from 1988. Great movie. Do you see again? Look at the imagery. Let me see if I can make this bigger. You see, when he puts the glasses on, again, you may have just saw this image and never really look into it, but look at the image inside the glasses. When you put the glasses on, you could see people and things for what they really were. But without the glasses, you couldn't see it. It was all subliminal messages. All right. So once you open your eyes, you can actually start to see all that is hidden in plain sight, you know, and decipher things and know what's going on. But let's keep going. Yeah. So the name Mormon means a spectre, goblin, ghoul, spook, or orgy of German origin. The name goblin is derived from the French language and was given to these little people or fairy folk, according to historians, a tribe of small dark-skinned people averaging in height of 4.5 feet, lived in the northern part of Europe and the British Isles. They were said to be enemies of the Celts, who eventually hunted them down and conquered them I know when you hear me say the Celts, some people will say, no, it should be Celts, as in Celtics, but its real pronunciation is Celtic. But the Celtics, or the Celts, being larger than goblins. Goblins were also associated with the legendary gnomes. This word, gnome, was thought to be derived from the Greek word Jinns, meaning earth dweller. Some gnomes work with stones, gems and metals and are supposed to be the guardians of hidden treasures. They live in caves far down in what the Scandinavians called the land of Neblugen. Many of these little people of legends and stories of folklore were actually extraterrestrial beings who are lacking in a certain enzyme for digestion, and this caused these small beings to appear green, right? And we have a scroll, right, called Shambhala and Argata, cities within the earth, scroll number 131. There are other gnomes who are called tree and forest spirits. To this group belongs the Sylvesters, Satyrs, Pans, Dryads, Hamadryads, Daedalus, Elves, Brownies, and little old men of the woods. According to folklore, I think this is bugging me. I'm going to find out how to pronounce this. Pronounce gnomes. I think it's gnomes because the G might be silent. Okay, here we go. Okay, it seems like it's gnome.
Gnome.
Gnome. Okay, yeah, I was right. So the G is silent. Technology can be useful sometimes, but let's keep going. So the gnomes were ruled over by a king whom they greatly loved and revered, named Gobi. His subjects were therefore called goblins. Medieval mystic gave a corner of creation to each of the four kingdoms of nature spirits, and because of their earthly character, the gnomes were assigned to the north, the place recognized by the ancient as the source of darkness and death. These little people were said to have worn green garments which distinguished them in the fields and forests. So you can actually think of Snow White and the little beings are around them. And why they have the G if it's a silent G? Like, this is what English does. It's like, it's got G, gnomes, but we just say gnome. Bats, okay, so now we're going into the bat. Yeah, so the bat is again another one. The bat was a combination of a rat and a bird mixed together to produce the bat. Bats are rat-like furry mammals with wings. They are the result of the unnatural mating, this is what I was just saying, unnatural mating between the bird, which accounts for the wings, and the rat, which accounts for the fur and tail. Bats have the fastest heartbeat of any mammal, 200 beats per minute. The vampire bat drinks more than their weight in blood in one night. Wow. The long-eared bat of Africa and Europe can hear a moth in flight. It is one of the many animals which mated outside of its class boundary. It is a side result from the developing of the creation of the pig. Yeah, there we go. Remember I mentioned the bat, the cat, rat, and dog. Okay, let's keep going. I really don't want to try and make this video too long, but we do want to give you as much information about Halloween, or the Devil's Sabbath. All right. Yeah, but I'll try to, yeah, I'll probably try and keep it not too long. Okay, let's go on. Next to the rodents, the order of bats has the largest number of species among mammals, about 1,000 species in all. The Magiroptera are the suborders. These bats belong to the Magiroptera order, are fruit eating and found in the tropical zones. The majority of bats, including all species found in the temperate regions, belong to the Microchiroptera order. They vary widely in eating habits. Many are insectivores, but are fruit eaters, fish eaters, and bloodsuckers. Bats are nocturnal night creatures. They use echolocation. A sort of radar that, when used, throws off ultrasonic waves, bouncing back warnings of any obstacles ahead. And echolocation prevents bats from collision. So when they're flying, it's the same thing that the dolphins also use, echolocation, sending out sonic waves to see if something is in the way, and when they're heading or flying towards it, they avoid it. Okay, but then you have the vampire bat, which relates more to the Halloween. The infamous true vampire bat has been the object of myths and legends, especially associated with the notorious Dracula, the son of Draco. Dracula, the true vampire bat, feeds on the blood of warm-blooded vertebrae. Adaptable to change in their living conditions, they are mainly cave dwellers and fly at night in search of food, sleeping mammals and birds. When the vampire bat finds its victim, it silently alights and cuts a deep slit in the skin of the sleeping mammal with its razor-sharp incisors. The wound is painless. The vampire bat then puts its mouth to the slit and sucks the blood. These bats attack the hairless part of the victim's body, including the noses and toes of humans. One major problem caused by the true bat is the spread of rabies. In Venezuela, it is claimed that vampire bats have been responsible for the death of millions of cattle. Human casualties are also common in Trinidad and Brazil. Like the cat, the bat is also sacred to the Norse deities Freya, and also has a strong association with evil and witchcraft. Bat's blood is one of the ingredients said to be used in an ointment made by witches. They are believed to be the vehicles of souls of witches and cause of damage and destruction. It was ignorance due to superstition and lack of scientific knowledge and understanding of the nature of bat, which played a part in the formation of European folk tales and beliefs. Vampires and werewolves, fact or fiction. The Wolfman and Dracula 2 movie and screen stars have instilled fear and terror in the hearts of children for years and years. How many nightmares have they invoked by their menacing appearance and inhumane behavior? Where did these characters originate? What facts and folklores did they arise from? Is there any truth behind these loathsome figures of fright? The werewolf is one of the most ancient and fascinating tales to have existed since the early medieval times. Several things can be attributed to the folk tale of the werewolf. And it actually goes in. I'm going to start to kind of run through this because, as I said, I want to give you the jewels but not make the video too long. All right. The characteristics of the beast, because again in the book of Revelation they talk about the beast. The wolf has a cunning nature, enabling him to survive mankind's attempts to hunt. So we're talking about, when you look at we have another scroll, there you go, actual fact number 48, another one of the master teacher's scrolls, right? Kabir Kadam, that's what I was trying to find. It's called Bigfoot. And this scroll goes into explaining these beings that come from Sirius, okay? You can see their fur. You got the black fur, okay? You got the blonde fur, and then you have that ginger fur, okay? And you'll see how these tie into the Adamites with those fur in terms of the different fur that they have. Well, let's keep going because I want to get into, okay, so it's basically saying here that the beast in terms of the wolf has a cunning nature enabling him to survive mankind's attempts, because those Bigfoots, they're able to smell, they have a high sense of smell, and they can smell a human miles away and able to hide from and elude any humans trying to hunt them down. Okay, so it says here, mankind's attempt to hunt and control them. He has been a beast of fear and terror for centuries. Throughout the mountainous regions, the forests of Europe, and other documentation that wolves will eat human flesh. One such case is the beast of, another French word to try and pronounce, Gévaudan. Gévaudan. How's my French? Yeah, the beast of Gévaudan, an extremely large wolf which plagued a remote corner of France. See, I knew it. France during the 18th century, killing over 60 men, women and children during a 2-year spree of terror. His ability to escape all attempts of annihilation earned the beast of Gévaudan a reputation for being a supernatural creature. Okay, then we go into lycanthropy, which is the scientific name of a condition which literally means wolfman. It takes its root from the Greek word leucanthropia. Lycanthropy is a rare disease, a form of insanity which makes its victims behave like wolves, showing all the savagery and physical characteristics of the species. The victim of lycanthropy did not actually change him or herself into a wolf. However, their behavior is beast-like, right? Snarling, growling, running recklessly throughout the forest and fields in the blackness of the night, attacking man and animal in the most savage and gruesome manner. All right. The night of the full moon, right? Because this is tied to Halloween, the full moon, right? Originally called Lunar, yeah, which ties into the word lunatic, because this behavior, as we just said, makes people think that they can do things, but they act and behave. I showed you the pictures of people regressing back into animal because it's in the DNA, tying into these Bigfoot and wolves, and you know, when the Europeans were still tying in and practicing bestiality in the caves of Europe, right? And this is why today they find the Neanderthal and, you know, the Cro-Magnon, the DNA and the genes is in these, some of these Adamites that practice that, and it's to now it's actually regressing. So let's keep going. So it says here, however, their behavior is beast-like, snarling, growling, running recklessly throughout the forest and fields in the blackness of the night, attacking man and animal in the most savage and gruesome manner. The night of the full moon, originally called Luna and Kingu, was particularly feared because that Kingu, right, when we were talking about we're talking about, I can't remember, we were talking about something earlier on where I said that, yeah, because Kingu was a madman. He was the one that actually, he used a plutonium bomb. This is in the Holy Tablets, and blew off a part of the moon. So let's keep going. It says that Kingu was particularly feared, for it was known to be one of the periods in which the disease struck most often. Not to mention people start acting strange and are referred to as lunatics. You see the word lunatics, which goes back to the madman responsible for the creation of your moon. Okay, and the scroll, Mission Earth and the extraterrestrial involvement, and that shows you how these extraterrestrials that came here, how they actually mixed with, you know, beings to produce this mindset that, you know, is very beast-like. And yeah, so when you're looking at Halloween, It goes back to the dark and medieval ages when Amorites were behaving in a barbaric and uncivilized state. And during those times, they were able to basically, mix with all these types of, animals. And that's why, as I said, you can actually find that still in the DNA. And some of them, I'm going to just round off because I'm actually conscious of not making the video too long. But you do need to get hold of this scroll and read it for yourself, how it, as I said, it ties into Dracula, Dracos, Dragon, the Dragonians, and you can see the different images of vampires as depicted in movies in the industry. I'm just going to skip through and give you, it deals with vampires. Man, there's just so much. The master teacher puts out so much information. And obviously gives you references and pictures of beings like these beings here, that they suffer from hirsutism, which is, real life people that have hair all over their bodies. And how the magician, I already mentioned Merlin and the magician, tying into, going all the way back to, Nimrod and, necromancy, which I mentioned before, which is the art of revealing future events by means of alleged communication with the dead. Necromancy comes from the conglomeration of the Greek words nekros and necro, death, corpse, dead tissue, and the word mantio, divination. So this all ties into, the witchcraft. And the, Leviathan, which is again, Leviathan is the spell of sleep for those whose eyes are not opened, and everything is done to keep you, to keep you under the spell, so you don't know what you're doing, why you're celebrating certain things, why you're calling on certain names, and so we give you the actual facts to wake you up so that you can actually open that eye and start to see things for what they really are, and not what you've been following and doing for so many years without really, knowing why. You just follow a tradition because many people have been doing it for so many years. So you just do it as well. But really, it's worshipping the devil, as you can see from this image of the symbol of liberty and how it ties into this Baphomet. We show you everything and give you, see, the Baphomet, or the goat of Mendes. And that's why I was saying that it's all about pagan and the worship of the devil. Okay, so don't fool yourself and thinking it's just, it's just a fun and folly day. No, there is a lot of symbology and a lot of things take place, and that energy that's generated on the planet is feeding these disagreeable negative beings, and it ties in all the way to the year of the child, okay, which was dealing with when the devil was born into this world in 1966. And look at all the things that were happening in 1966 with the Church of Satan being given its charter by Ronald Wilson Reagan, which ties into 666. You look at this, look at the Pentagon, look at the word Nixon and the goat, and all these people, the movie, that if you watched Rosemary's Babies and watched, what's the other one? You can, what's the name of it? Where they show this, the Dakota house. And the Damien, that's what I was trying to remember, the child that was born. Go back and look at the, Damien was born, and mother of Damien was what? A jackal. Back to the Jack again. Jacqueline, who played in the movie, okay? and there's another movie called something Jackal as well that I can't remember at the moment. Yeah, I'm just now giving you things to quickly look at, but yeah, Halloween, Uncle Sam, yeah, we have to combat and fight this subliminal messages that keep you under the spell of relying on the jinns you call religion, the jinns, demonic spirit beings. All right. So until the next one, Tawakum, Wadu.